Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I am going to be explaining what has happened this past week. Now, throughout this video, I will look tired and slow because it's been a long week and I am exhausted. But I wanted to film this video today because if I didn't do it today, I would have forgotten and it would have come out way after the surgery. So October 24th, 2019, last Thursday, I had surgery. Now, it was not mandatory, it was not an emergency. Some of you were like, oh my god, are you okay? When I posted on all my social media. Now, I had that surgery because of a drug called Spinraza. Now, Spinraza was the first ever FDA approved drug for spinal muscular atrophy, which is what I have. It is a relatively new drug. Even though it was approved like 2.5 years ago, I just now started the process of getting it. Because 2 years ago, I was content with where I was at. I felt that my muscle function was pretty good. And I also didn't want to be the first in line for a drug. You don't know the long-term effects. I was like, I'll wait it out. We'll see what happens. Now, about 6 months ago, I seriously started contemplating, I'm losing muscle function. There's a treatment out there. Maybe I just need to bite the bullet and go get it. Because the way Spinraza works is it increases the production of the survival motor neuron protein, which is what I lack. Hence, the muscle weakness. Without the amount of that protein you need, your muscles obviously have trouble functioning and they're not strong. Now, receiving this drug doesn't mean I'm going to be jumping up, walking, running, all of that. If anything, I doubt I ever will, unless some miracle drug, even then, there are other things first I gotta handle before that. Spinraza is only going to keep me where I'm at. It is going to keep me from losing more function. Now, it very well could give me some function I lost, but again, I'm not going to know that because it depends on the person. That depends on each specific person and how they do. So I won't know until I'm a couple doses in. Now, you have to get Spinraza. The first 3 doses are every 2 weeks, and then I wait a month for the 4th. And after the 4th, it's every 4 months, consistently. So it's not just a one-shot, you're done sort of thing. Which, speaking of shots, Spinraza is actually administered via lumbar puncture. They take a large needle and they stick it into your spine, into your spinal cord, and that's how they administer the dose, and that happens every 2 weeks and then a month and every 4 months. That stinks, and for those who have to do that, it's really rough on them, and I know some people who have questioned if they want to continue to get it, if it's worth it and all that. Now, I don't have to get the spinal lumbar punctures. This leads me to my surgery. So for my surgery, I had to get it was to install the Omaya reservoir. Now, the reservoir is a little port that lays under the skin. You can't see it with the naked eye. You gotta feel around for it, which means it won't show through your clothes or whatever. And the other end of the port connects to my spinal cord, and it just kind of sits there in my lower back. So instead of the giant needle I get into my spinal cord that often, I get a little shot into my back, into the port, which then sends the drug into my spine. The surgery itself, last Thursday, was relatively easy. The anxiety I had for the surgery was not for that. I was in very good hands. The surgeon had done it countless times before. Most of my friends actually have had that surgery, and they're like, oh yeah, that's probably one of the easiest surgeries you'll ever go through. So that itself, I was like, oh, okay, I'm chilling. But it was the intubation and the anesthesia that really freaked me out. For those with respiratory problems and muscle weakness issues, being intubated is probably one of the most dangerous things. Partially because of our airways and partially because of breathing on our own. And once you have a machine that breathes for you, but the transition after teaching your already weak muscles to breathe for you again is dangerous. Now, the way they intubated me was the absolute safest way, and I understand that. That's why they did it. But it also was the most miserable and terrifying way, because I was awake when they intubated me. Now, I was on laughing gas, but even then, I still felt it. I remember it. It was not fun. I'm gonna say that right now. It was terrifying. Just not a great experience. So the way they did it is they gave me a bit of laughing gas to kind of make me woozy, but enough to where I was still breathing on my own. Because they were afraid if they knocked me out and they couldn't get me intubated, they would have to do a trach on me, which is where, they put a trach on your throat. They had, the last surgery I had, they had trouble intubating me, so much so that they panicked and things happened and just was not safe. So to avoid that, they tried something different. Now, what they did, again, is they made me woozy, but instead of putting the tube in my mouth, they put it in my nose. They dilated my nasal cavities, so they stuck a total of 3 tubes, like 3 little tubes in my nose to stretch it out. And then finally, once it was where they needed my nose to be, they shoved the whole tube down into my nose, into my throat, and I felt it. I felt it stretch. Yeah. Again, not pleasant. And I remember gagging. I remember not being able to breathe. But even though I was breathing, I was panicking. And it was just... Finally, they got the tube in. And I knocked out. They put anesthesia in my IV and I was out. So that was the worst part of it that happened. And then surgery happened. It took about, I think they said about 2.5, 3 hours. Once I woke up, they had me on BiPAP, which breathes for you. Well, it helps you breathe for yourself with assisted breaths and all that. So I was on that, and I was coming out of anesthesia. I don't remember doing anything embarrassing. I don't remember anyone telling me I did anything embarrassing. But that was the first day. They wanted me to lay flat for 72 hours, which is hard to eat when you're laying flat. Because what you eat when you lay flat and you have a weak jaw as it is. So that was difficult. I was in the ICU for the entire 72 hours. Partially because they wanted to monitor my back, and partially because I had a respiratory complication. I had atelectasis, which basically means the very top of my lung, my right one, was collapsed. Now, it wasn't allowed to the point where they had to do all these things, and it was scary, and it was life or death, and blah, blah, blah. But my doctor, he was taking all precautions. He wanted me on BiPAP part of the day, which I never do, all of night. We pushed the breathing treatments, we pushed the medications, we did the cough assist, which the cough assist inhales for you and exhales for you. So it forces everything out of you. And we pushed all that, and then by the second chest x-ray, my chest looked a lot better, but again, it was not anywhere where it needed to be where I could go home. So, continued pushing the beds, continued to lay flat, and finally everything got fixed, and I was moved to a different floor. Now, when I got to the different floor, out of the ICU, I was then able to start elevating my head. And I did. And I got very lightheaded the first time. It was a weird experience because even the slightest bit of elevation, my neck felt heavy. Because when you lay flat for 72 hours and you finally go up a bit, your body's like, whoa, what's happening? What is that? Gravity? I don't know her. And it's a weird, it doesn't hurt, but it was just weird. And then after slowly elevating me, by the 5th day, I was able to get in my chair. Is it the 5th day? 4th day? The days all blur together. I'm sorry, when you're in the hospital, you don't know if it's Monday or freaking Saturday. Like, it blurs. And I'm trying to remember most of it as accurately as possible. So finally I was able to sit in my chair, which sitting in my chair after 72 hours of not was the most amazing thing. It was amazing. I finally was able to sit up and eat, feed myself. Yeah, it was great. I loved it. Now, when I got my chair, my body was like, what's sitting? And slowly started tipping. And I could feel myself and I caught myself. But again, it's like, what are you doing? I'm not used to this. So, finally I got the hang of it. I sat about 3 hours and then I laid back down for a bit. And then I sat up again. And finally, the next day, they were like, you're good. You're in your chair. You're healthy. You're at your baseline. You can go home. And I went home. Now, the pain is not bad. Like, the pain, the entire stay, I think the strongest thing I took it was ibuprofen mixed with a tiny bit of an opioid called Tramadol. Yes. I think that was it. But other than that, I mainly just took Tylenol. And the worst part of the pain was where they made both my incision marks. Yes, I have 2 incision marks. Yay! That was weird to wake up to, because I thought it was only going to be 1. And then I woke up and I had 2 IVs and 2 scars. And I was like, wow. Great. So yeah, there was, pain-wise, it wasn't terrible. I was just very bored, because when you lay flat on your back, you get bored, and it's not fun. But my friends came to visit. I had someone visit me every single day but Saturday, so that was really nice, and shout out to them, because you guys made my day better, even if it was for like a short visit or whatever. But I'm home now. It's Wednesday. I got home yesterday, Tuesday. So, yes, it's Wednesday. So I'm home. I'm getting back into the routine of just doing my thing. And I have to wait 3 weeks for my post-op appointment. And when I go to my post-op appointment, if he takes out my stitches that day, I can make the appointment to start Spinraza that same day. I can't have the appointment that same day, but I can call and be like, hey, when can I start getting it? But it all depends on my stitches. So once I get the appointment to get my first dose of Spinraza, I'm for sure going to let everyone know. But yeah, that has been my crazy life for this past week. And I hope that explained a lot. I'm okay. I'm doing good. Thank you for watching this video, this really long educational medical video. I hope you really enjoyed it. I'll see you on the next one. I'm rolling out.